Hi, welcome to Salt and Burn This. I'm Sami.
And I'm Valerie.
And this is our Supernatural Rewatch podcast.
Each week, we're going to break down an episode in order with lots of details, so nothing's left out.
And we throw in some personal nuggets and stories and research to mix it up just a little bit.
Because not only are we fans of the show, but like Sam and Dean, we've also had our fill of road trips.
Yeah, but for theater, not for hunting ghosts and demons.
And not in a super sexy muscle car.
Anyway, shall we?
We shall.
For the remaining, 10 minutes of this?
Damn it, we did it again.
I know. Totally fine.
So while I was sick, I binged all 3 seasons of Ted Lasso, which I hadn't seen yet. Have you seen Ted Lasso?
Only the first 3 episodes, so don't tell me.
I won't say anything other than the fact that it's going from Ted Lasso to then writing my nose for Supernatural was like throwing the car in reverse without using the clutch at 30 miles an hour. I was like, oh my God.
I know.
So hard. It was so hard. But
I know it's such a good show. I just haven't well, like I lost like my login for Apple TV, and it's like I know it's just like sending an email, resetting the password, whatever, but for some reason that to me is too much work right now. Nope.
Yes.
Not when I have a million other streaming services that I can already log into, you know.
Right. Screw you, Ted Lasso. Too much work.
What I have been watching, though, I just finished the first season of it. It's a short season. Is The Bear, which is on Hulu. It's about
I haven't watched that. About the restaurant. Okay.
Yes, the restaurant. Oh my God, so good.
Is it so good? Okay.
It's really intense, and it completely 100% accurately evokes the feeling of working in a restaurant. It's like, wow.
You have so much experience in that. I would be like, okay, I'd never want to do that.
But I've never been in the
kitchen
like that.
Like the yes chef part of it.
Yeah, the yes chef. I mean, I've been around people saying yes chef, but like wandering into the kitchen to like grab an order. Or sometimes you do like the little side work, like the making the salads, the things that don't take a lot of cooking skill.
Or any.
Yeah.
She says the girl who can't actually make the salad, but that's okay.
But the franticness of the restaurant in general that you feel even on the server side, it's like, oh wow. And I have a friend I was talking to about the show who at the time when he started working it was running like a diner type of kitchen. Like, I had so much PTSD. Like when I started watching it, I couldn't
do it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know. I heard it's a great show.
It is. But the final episode of the first season, this guy, Jeremy Allen White, the lead actor, he delivers this one cut monologue, like, one camera shot, there's no cutaway. It's like it feels like it's 10 minutes long. I'm sure it's not, but it's just so long.
A oneer, as they call it.
He is so good. Yeah, I'm like so impressed with this actor, and the writing also is very good because it takes 2 to kind of work that way. But
yes,
just I'm always impressed when they can just do a one shot thing like that. And, do this whole roller coaster of emotions within that one shot. It's very impressive.
I do love oneers because it's a combination of not only talent from the performer, but cohesive working with the camera. Yeah. It's everything has to work. It's not just one thing has to work.
Yeah.
It all has to work.
I believe it's a oneer, or at least most of it is. There's a scene in the show Daredevil. It's just a few years old now, but it's on Netflix.
Is it a
blind
superhero?
guy. Yeah, it's a superhero
Okay.
who's blind. But he's got like sonar, kind of like a bat.
Like a bat?
Yeah. But there is this badass fight scene where he's like walking down the hallway and it's really dark and there's people like coming in like Scooby-Doo doors, and he's just like beating them down one by one. But it was like, oh, this is so cool because like the fight choreography had to
line up.
It's a dance. Yeah. It was a dance.
That's why I love seeing. There's this one outtake from one of the Marvel movies, and I forget which one. It wasn't Endgame, but it was the one where the monsters like destroy New York.
All of them.
All of them.
No, I think that's the first one.
It's not the introduction of Thor. It's when all of them are battling those like lizard monsters. But,
yeah.
But there's an outtake where it's slow motion where Thor is supposed to catch his hammer at the same time that Captain America catches his shield. So they're both supposed to catch the things at the same time and then punch, spin. And Chris Hemsworth misses the hammer. And he does one of those like juggle, like whoop, whoop.
I've seen this.
Yeah, and it's all in slow motion, but while he's like going, trying to catch it, Chris Evans caught his shield and is doing all of the actual choreography he's doing he's supposed to be doing.
And Thor's just like,
it's just so funny to see that juxtaposition like right next to each other. It's like it all has to work or none of it works. Yep. You can't just edit Thor out.
Yeah.
So having said that, there's a lot that works in this episode. Not necessarily, superhero stuff, but oh my gosh, so much cool stuff in this episode. There's so much that circles all the way back to the first season and answers questions from the first season.
Yep.
Not that there was a ton of questions, but there was a big one. There was a big one. Big old Matza hanging out there.
Yeah. All right. Season 4, Episode 22, the finale, Lucifer Rising. The brothers prepare to fight the forces of the apocalypse in different camps. While Sam and Ruby hunt down Lilith, Dean joins Castiel and Zachariah to take on Lucifer. Directed by Eric Kripke and written by Eric Kripke, and I think Ben Unland also helps this as well. Interesting. So in IMDb, it says written by Eric Kripke and Jeremy Carver, or he was executive story editor, whatever. But in the commentary, because Eric Kripke did a commentary on this episode, he mentioned Ben Udland a lot. So maybe he just did some major pitches of plot points that he decided to give him credit for. But
it just makes me wonder. I mean, I know the unions all have their rules and stipulations about, what your job title is and when do you get to be this and when you get to do that. But it's like, do they just like juggle and be like, today, or because I was drinking coffee when I walked by, Kripke's office, I am now the executive producer of this particular episode. And it makes me wonder if they just like juggle and say, today you get to be the head writer. Tomorrow you get to be the director.
Yeah. I will say that he did talk for a long time about how Kim Manners was always the one to film the season finales.
Oh.
And he did a very beautiful tribute about Kim in this. It's like it was so sad. So now there was this question of who was going to direct it. Eric Kripke decided to do it himself because he wanted to deliver one that Kim would be proud of, hitting all of his standards and compositions and his crazy camera tricks. But it was just really nice. He was just so giving about Kim. And you could tell that he was definitely missed.
Things to aspire to have in life is a working environment, or an ethic or an atmosphere that people support you and you feel supported, and also that you can support other people without it being a competition or a conflict. That your efforts are noticed you know, and, you know, and you feel comfortable noticing other people's efforts and holding them up because it doesn't take anything away from you.
Right.
So I thought with this episode, there was an interesting juxtaposition, obviously, between Lucifer Rising and Lazarus Rising. My lisp comes out. That somebody else, I didn't do this, somebody else online did an interesting photo cut of in Lazarus Rising, because that's when we meet Castiel for the first time, right? There's a picture of Castiel in the barn when he first shows us his wings.
Yes.
And then there was a cut to Lilith when she's in the convent where Sam has her pressed against the altar and she's like this. And I thought that was a really interesting two images, you know, Castiel as the angel and then Lilith, you know, as the demon. It was, I never would have found it. Like I never would have put those two images together, but I thought it was an interesting, you know, angels and demons
it is.
cut. And, you know, what do you call that? I keep saying juxtaposition, but that's a little side by side of the two, of the differing characters.
Like a parallel or a...
Yeah.
I don't know. I know what you mean. And I also did not put those two together. And Kripke did not say anything about it. And he talked a lot about camera things. And like, there were moments where I was kind of like glazing over.
So it's not just me you do that too. Oh, that's so nice to hear. So in this episode, so much. There's a lot in this episode, but there wasn't too much. But I want to say the meta was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to read it out right now.
Okay.
So that I don't stop every time something comes up and just say the things that I found that were referenced.
Okay.
The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody.
Yes, that was a particularly good one. I loved Kurt Fuller's befuddled reaction to it.
I also liked it when Dean called him fat face. And he kind of just had this little tick, like teeny tiny little like eye twitch, like, oh, that actually hurt. Did you know that Kim Rhodes was on The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody? We haven't met her character yet, but yeah, she was. I don't know who she was on the show, but she was on it for a while.
Oh, that's funny.
There's a Star Trek reference. Dean references the holodeck. Gilligan's Island, of course.
It's all in the same scene, actually.
All in the same scene, right? The Harlem Globetrotters, same scene. The Brady Bunch, almost. You can't. They don't specifically say it's the Brady Bunch, but it's the Marsha.
Yes, that's right.
Let's see. Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. There's one in there. And Dumbo.
Yes, Dumbo.
Now that's all I picked up on. I'm sure there was a couple others that maybe I missed, but I was like, I'm just gonna write this in the meta category. Yeah, so that's the meta that I found.
The meta that I found.
Yeah,
I like that. The meta that I found.
And sweater weather almost.
And then I didn't catch the map quest either.
Oh, I did. And here's what I'll say about it, because there's a little bit of stuff. Mostly takes place, the juicy bits takes place in Ilchester, Maryland. And Ilchester, which first I thought, oh, that's funny. Ilchester, as in, you know,
Winchester,
but sick Chester. Yeah, not it. But that's why that's why I first wrote it down. Ilchester, Maryland was an actual town, but has since been abandoned. You know, sometimes just stuff goes away. Yeah. And so now it's like a township, maybe city district, but there's nothing there.
Unincorporated territory.
Yes, exactly. But one of the reasons is it was the home of Mary College St. Mary's College. And it was run by the Redemptionists. Don't know who they are, but they can't be good.
Anything with an ists at the end.
Right? They clearly thought they were better than us. The college closed in 1972. ... Does that ring a bell?
Oh, wow.
For this episode, it actually in real life, this college closed down in 1972. And the urban legend is that it closed down because a priest hanged 5 girls and then shot himself in it. so that those campus buildings became abandoned. The main house was nicknamed Hell House, and it was knocked down finally in the year 2000. All true, with the exception of we don't know if the priest actually did this, but that was not a supernatural. That's not supernatural. That's the town.
Yeah,
the town
that's
wrote
real.
this. Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm going to do a little shout out to the writers and the prop/scenic people on this episode who did their deep dives. They did their research about everything. So Ilchester, Maryland, where this place happened, 1972, which is when that event happened and when everything
wow.
that starts this episode out happened.
Very nice.
Yes.
Very, very nice.
And of course, the other map quest is, the green room, which is
yes, the Angel Green Room.
Not in North Dakota or South Dakota.
Yeah, I can't wait until next season, and that's going to be a long haul. But there's like a major urban legend that I'm actually very intimately familiar with, so I'm like,
oh no, that means it's never going to happen. It's going to take us forever to get there.
I know. Okay, so our road so far.
Turn it up. Turn it up.
Carry on my wayward.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Turned it up. And it's a great recap. I mean, that's all it is a recap of season 4.
Yes, I'm not even going to get into all of it because it's just all those good moments. It's all the juicy moments. It's all the peak moments.
Yep.
Ending with, if you walk out that door, don't you ever come back.
Exactly. But yes, you did get to listen to a fabulous chunk of Kansas doing.
Oh, yeah.
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 But now in the now, it's now, but it's in the past.
Yes.
In Ilchester, Maryland, 1972, we see black demon smoke making its way through a stone building, like a church convent-y thing. It bursts in, and there's a lone priest at the altar who turns in time to have the demon smoke jam itself down his throat while he screams.
Yes.
Never a good thing.
No.
Never a good thing.
The same priest, I guess it's a mass or a teaching, or I don't know what they do in convents, but anyway, he's saying the heavenly prayer, but then does a yada, 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 all that jazz. Yeah. Nuns are like, that's weird.
Yeah. Yep.
One even starts to ask the question, and then he snaps around and says, "Shut up, you little fat slut," or something like that.
Yeah. Not the caring, kind words you expect to hear coming from a priest while talking to nuns.
No. And Kripke said, at this point, I mean, it gets pretty deranged later, but he wanted it shown on camera, the nuns being hung upside down from the ceiling, and then cuts of the crucifix cutting into their skin and bleeding out.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, and Bob Singer had to go to him and be like, that's too much.
That's too far. I'm glad for what you said about Kripke wanting to do all of that, because a part of me was and the door's closed and all we hear are nuns screaming.
Yeah.
And a part of me was I'm okay with that, but at the same time, I was it was one priest against a room full of nuns, and not one of them could get the upper hand on him. But then I was he's a demon.
Yeah.
And because I went back, I looked at my notes, and I was he ends up locking them in, calling them sluts, and then murdering them, but not before revealing that the convent is the place where the gates / the cage of Lucifer is located. And then the last thing we see is his yellow eyes.
Yes.
So it's Azazel.
Yes.
Azazel is there in 1972 murdering nuns. I guess he was called there.
I don't know. He did his research, and he found out, it's oh, your father locked my father up here. Ha 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 ha.
Ha ha. And I would say, is that the title splash? Yeah. Yes. Title splash was the nuns. So the now is now. And the camera does this cool blur from blurry to into focus on Sam's face. And Sam's looking pensive. I said he's looking the oldest I've ever seen him. Not tired, not bedraggled, but older, chiseled.
Yeah.
You know, the youthful, you know, bedside Sam is not there.
Right.
And it could just be that his like sideburns were like super locked in.
Maybe. But... yeah, he's there with Ruby. They're at a decrepit house. She's trying to comfort him, but he's kind of resigned to the fact that no, Dean was right to yell at me like that, because I can feel that I have changed, and it's probably for good. And there's no going back. And Dean's probably better off. So let's just shut up and go. And then we cut to Dean, and there's the same kind of blur in to Dean.
Yes.
Staring pensively outside of his window, or Bobby's window.
Right. And instead of Ruby trying to like comfort him, it's Bobby trying to like be like, Dean, come on.
Yeah.
You know,
call your
again.
brother. He's drowning. He needs help.
And Dean's like, but I tried. Try again. Try again. And I like that Bobby gets so mad at this point that he like literally does like a table flip. Flips the table and is like, whoever said that family was sunshine and candy? You know, it's you want me to go bake you a cake, princess, or whatever. But he's like, boo-hoo, family's hard, you know, and the reason it hurts is because you care and he cares. And, you know, I was like, yes, Bobby.
Yeah.
Dean, screw him. He's gone. Not sure he was even my brother, ever was my brother. Really?
Yes. Well, yeah. Then Bobby says that too. He's like, you sound like a whiny brat. Wait, you sound like your father, and your father was a coward, and he'd rather push Sam away than reach out to him. You're a better man than your daddy ever was, so don't be him.
I like that Dean actually was shocked by that. Dean literally was like, ooh, like, oh, wasn't expecting. Yeah.
Yeah. Shocked. But also I wrote that a few months ago, or maybe a year ago, some time ago, Dean would have really been defensive about that. He would have been like, don't you talk about my daddy that way, kind of thing.
But he didn't. I mean, the only thing he said was, you know, you call my dad a coward. And Bobby's like, yeah. All he had to do was, you know, reach back out to Sam, but he was a coward and just let him go. So, yeah.
And then we have another cool camera cut where Dean looks out the window, turns around to reply to Bobby, but he's no longer in Bobby's house. He's in this gorgeous
white museum of a room with like gold Baroque picture frames, and all the furniture has that like heavy carved look, marble tops.
Yeah, they based some of this off of the Palace of Versailles, the set decorators, which
everything in Versailles is gold.
They were excited about, because it's like usually it's like some sort of grungy motel room, or like a dilapidated hospital room or something.
Right? There was no room this time.
No, here we really got to lush it up.
No moose head or deer head. No starburst clock, although that would have been fun if they could have put a little starburst somewhere in there. But no, it's a beautiful room. Bobby's not there. But it turns out that Castiel is. He shows up and says to Dean, it's almost time. You know, almost time for what?
Yep.
I want to point out there's a lot going on in this room. And some of the things that while Dean is looking around this room, like, where the hell am I? What's going on? We see, other than the gold Baroque furniture and stuff like that, there are these beautiful paintings, like pastoral scenes and stuff like that. Everything is bright and kind of, I don't want to say cheery, but like definitely not your typical outside supernatural gray cold.
Yeah, it's fancy.
Yeah. And I'm going to talk about the stuff that's in the room a little bit later. Yeah.
There is, however, a big bowl of beer on ice.
Yes.
And a big platter of
big old
burgers.
pyramid of cheeseburgers. Yes. And now that Dean has discovered the burgers and beer, he now also sees that it's not just Castiel in the room. Now Zachariah is there as well. And thus the first quote of, hey, it's the sweet life of Cass and Zach. And what I love is that he starts to explain to them what the dig is, like what the diss is. And then he's like, never mind. What am I doing?
I know it for a couple of reasons. I think both they're angels. They have no idea what I'm talking about, but also that show is meant for 12-year-olds.
Well, and also,
I'm a little embarrassed that I know it.
Right. But
that's
also,
kind of what I
why am I explaining why this is an insult? Yeah.
It's like... Yes, but the beer and the burgers are there as offerings from Zachariah. Sorry, I kept writing Kurt. As in Kurt Fuller.
Good old Kurt Fuller brought Dean some beers and burger.
Yep. And then he offers him both Ginger and Marianne from Gilligan's Island, at which point I wrote, wow, Zachariah is a very horny angel. Like, he's always like offering up women or saying like, oh, maybe you want some virgins, you want some sluts, it's like he's trying to live vicariously through
right, but clearly knows Dean and knows Dean's vices.
I know, but
because Dean just leans in for a second, he's like,
he's always so eager to offer up the girl, the woman, the sex, that's always like, yeah, you want that? Can I watch? That's kind of what I'm getting from it.
Oh, yeah, a little horny little angel. But he explains to Dean that they're in the green room, which is funny because again, it's a white room. Green room is a theater reference, which is, if you don't know, most theaters have a room that is not a dressing room. It's an area that you would go to and sit in after you've gotten into hair, makeup, and costume, and you just don't want to be in the dressing room anymore. You go and sit in the green room and wait before you go on stage. So everything is...
It's a TV term thing, right? Isn't it also?
Also, yes, but it stems from theater.
Because the late night shows, they definitely have a green room type of thing.
Yes. So I'm not sure why initially Zachariah is trying to convince Dean to partake in I guess it's a stalling,
I think it's just like, just trying to make him like happy and comfortable, maybe to
hang out here until we're ready for you.
Right, to keep him from asking all the questions, which doesn't help because Dean has a million questions to ask, and the only answers he's getting are those like stupid, lame, cryptic, religious type of things, like have faith, all in good time, those kinds of, and just ends it with, hey, you said that you would obey, so that's what you got to do.
Yeah,
you got to obey.
Yeah, and during this, Castiel cannot look at Dean, like can't look him in the eyes. Keeps his head down. He looks up a couple times, but anytime he's about to make eye contact with Dean, he just looks away. He can't. He can't do it. But he also admits that all but one seal has been broken.
Yes.
And Dean is like, wow, you guys suck at this.
Yeah.
Weren't you guys supposed to be keeping the seals from being broken? And he refers to them as the Washington Generals, which I don't know if you ever watched the Harlem Globetrotters. Was that before your time?
I know who they are, and I did enjoy watching them, but I wasn't like a avid follower of them.
The team, they were a made-up team. It was all a pre-choreographed game.
No, yeah, I knew that. But because it's like
it's all the but they always played the Washington Generals, and they always beat the Washington Generals.
I see.
So the Harlem Globetrotters always won, and they always play the Washington. So that was what that comment was. And I was like, I used to think that they were real, and I was like, that team's really bad. They never win. So cut to somewhere else.
Yes, this was a very funny transition in the commentary because Kripke was talking about Kurt Fuller, how much he loved him. He's like, man, Kurt Fuller kicks ass, and
everybody loves
him. But Jared is giant, because it cuts to that scene where they have captured the baby eating nurse earlier, just in a quick little thing. And now the baby eating nurse is like on the table, and Sam is there interrogating her, torturing her for information.
Yes.
But Kripke's just like, but Jared is giant. He's so tall.
You may think Kurt is tall.
Yes.
Yeah. But I love, you said that, so Ruby and Sam have captured the chef baby killing nurse.
Yes.
And they've got her captured in, let's just say, a barn. She's on a table, but she's not tied down. She's not strapped down. There's no devil's trap. Sam is holding her there easily with his mind.
Just with his mind.
He's not even doing the hand thing, and he's not sweating. He's not breathing hard. He is jacked up. And she, of course, notices this, like, well, look at you all roided up, But Sam's not having any of the small talk. Where's Lilith?
Yep.
And she says, I don't know. And so Sam's like, all right, you don't know? Let me just torture you instead.
Yeah.
And begins to literally torture this demon, doing the whole handout. Like, all I can imagine is that he is like squeezing their guts.
Yeah. Back in Dean's green room, Dean does finally call Sam, leaves him a very apologetic voicemail, said, yes, we're still brothers, we're family, and that means something, and I'm not Dad, so I'm sorry. And then, back to Demon Sam, he has tortured her enough that she's like, fine, I will tell you where Lilith is as long as you kill me. Kill me, because I don't want to put up with this anymore. Either
you kill me or Lilith is going to kill me. Either way, I'm dead.
Yeah.
If I tell you, you kill me. If I tell you, she kills me. If I don't tell you, I guess you're going to kill me. So just promise to kill me. And Sam says, deal. Yep. Deal. Tell me. Give me the deets and I'll kill you.
Yeah, she says that she's in a convent somewhere.
And so Sam's like, great, I'll kill you now. And Ruby says, whoa, whoa, whoa. Can't kill her because we need her blood. Yeah. We need her alive. And the demon is like, no, you said you're going to kill me. And Ruby's like, oh, well, we lied. And so in revenge,
she says, and I thought this was interesting, you just can't trust anyone these days.
Foreshadowing.
That stuck out to me. I was like, oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But Demon Chica kind of gets the last laugh because she retreats inside the psyche of the body of the girl, and now the actual nurse person, Cindy, is awake. And so now Sam is dealing with having to torture and drink the blood of a human.
Yeah.
And so he has some reservations about that.
Yeah. Also here, Kripke was so complimentary of everybody, which was so nice to hear. Yeah. Someone who is just so admiring his actors and his people. So I just love it when a director is like, wow, they give so much. They're so good. Here he was like, Jared, as Sam has a lot to deal with, his self-hatred. He's almost suicidal, but still wants to finish this mission. And there's a lot of nuances that he has to do. And he was giving them on the first take almost every time.
Wow.
Yeah. So he'd look at the first take, and usually you go for like a second or third or fourth.
Yep.
But not just him. Yeah, not just him, but Jensen, but he was talking about Jared at the time. He's just like, wow, I can't think of a single note. This is fine. So let's move on,
And of course, as a performer, you're like, wait, really?
Yeah.
You don't want me to? Okay. That's awesome. Because all you see, I hate to say it, all you see online are the bloopers and the numbnuttery, and the jocularity. You don't get to see the heartbreak and the hard work and the emotional effort it takes to actually perform these roles.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that every day is, busting a ball, but it's not fun and jokes every single day, every single take either. So, so cut to 1972. back in the bloody convent, having just slaughtered all of these nuns. Azazel's like, I did the thing. What do I do now? What's the next step? And you hear one of the dead nuns who is prostrate on the altar.
On the altar, yeah.
Yeah. I guess Lucifer speaks through her to Azazel, and basically is like, good job, Ace, but there's still more to do. You need to go find Lilith. And Azazel's like, but she's like neck deep down in the pit. How am I gonna, get Lilith? And he's like, get Lilith and find me the child. And Azazel's like, he's like, excuse me? A child? What am I supposed to do with this? And that's all we hear.
Yes.
It's like, wait, what? A child?
Yeah. It's like this scene you said earlier. It's like there's like all these questions from season 1, that are being answered. And this is kind of the scene more than any other.
Yep.
That kind of fits all of these puzzle pieces together.
Yep.
So it's like, find me Lilith, which would be the Devil's Gate being opened.
Yep.
At the season 2? End of season 2?
End of season 2.
Yep. Because she will break all of the seals. Find me this child, which is him, the special psyche children.
The special child.
Hunger Games type of thing that happened. And then we'll find out why the special kid is needed.
Right.
But
and as soon as Azazel says, child, what child? Cut to Sam.
Yep.
Yeah, so no questions left there. That Sam is the special child that for some reason Lucifer needs.
Yeah.
Cut to Sam.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sam,
he's reading the article.
Out all the research that you found.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So cut to Sam reading about the priest who was just, learning that he had to be find Sam. Got a little tidbit here that in the article that Sam is reading about the murdering priest, the priest's name is Frederick Lenny. Frederick Lenny is the actor who plays Azazel.
In this episode or in
all the previous episodes. It's Azazel that we associate Yellow Eyes as.
Yeah.
They named the priest
that's funny.
after him. Yep. So Sam is reading everything that I just told you about the murdering priest. I thought it was interesting though that, and I didn't figure this out, but I did look at it. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, duh, that the date on the newspaper is Friday, October 16th, 1972. 1972 in October, it would have been Friday the 13th. So I'm wondering why they changed the date. It was like, that would have been too on the nose, that it was a Friday the 13th. 1972 that this happened,
or maybe they just didn't
look at a calendar.
Honestly, like maybe they just knew they wanted the year 1972 and they knew they wanted October. Like, what if? Hold on. This was in 2009. Give me a second.
Yeah.
What date did it say?
It said Friday, October 16th, 1972.
Okay, so in October 2009. Friday the 16th. So they literally just looked at a 2009 calendar and added 1972 instead.
What's the date on Friday? 16th. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I always go too far. I always dig a little. I always think it's something more. So cut to Sam still not totally being on board with having to bleed a human. Ruby says, and you've done it before. What's the big deal?
Yeah,
like, you've done it before.
This comes up a couple times, like in the next few minutes. Is like he's like, I mean, I don't know. Could we find him like another demon? Would that be okay?
And
she's like,
no.
why do you think? Who do you think is in all of these demons that you're killing?
Yeah.
I know she says this a little bit later, but I mean, it's all the same conversation that she has. Is like,
you've done.
What do you think happens to the host when you're killing them and or draining them?
Right. They're there.
They're people.
They're there. Yep. I'm like, ouch. Sam's like, fine. So they throw Cindy in the trunk. Poor Cindy. poor nurse Cindy is alive and pleading, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a nurse, I don't know you, I don't have to recognize you, let me go, nothing. Back in the green room,
which is a very cute, funny moment where Dean is like a cat or like a child, just like, I'm just gonna knock some stuff over, see what happens.
Yep.
When it's an angel statue, crashes, and then Cass appears, you rang.
Yes. Call for me. And I literally wrote, you rang. Which he doesn't say, but that's totally what it was. And so basically, since Dean got his way, he's like, I need to talk to Sam. And Cass says, no.
Yeah.
You can't. I want to see Sam. Why? Why it doesn't matter. I want to see him. You can't. Yeah. But you want to go for a walk? Let's go together. So clearly Dean is meant to be locked in this room until the angels are ready for him.
Yes, and he definitely realizes he's trapped when he tries to go for the door, but then Cass makes the door disappear. Now there is no door to the room.
I said Cass leaves and takes the doors with him. Didn't quite happen in that order, but that's what it felt like.
No.
Yeah, how are you going to leave? There's no doors, and then poof, he's gone. And, if he could have, Dean would have, son of a bitch, but no time for that.
Right. And this is where Kripke revealed, and we know this, of course, but that Misha was going to be a series regular in the following year. Because he wasn't this whole time, which was, I guess that makes sense, but he's just been around so much. You're just like, oh yeah, he's a regular. Yeah. But I don't know the specific stipulations of what makes a series regular versus
a reoccurring,
not regular, reoccurring, a guest star. There's all those things, and I don't know the rules for that.
I saw another interview. I know that Jensen and Jared, bash Misha all the time as like, the new kid on the set and the dork and stuff like that. But there's an interview where Jensen says, during our very first read with him, we're like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
Like when he first came on with the, I gripped you tight and, pulled you from perdition. Jensen was like, holy shit. It was like, it was nothing that they thought that this character was going to be.
Yeah.
And I just think that's so cool. Because again, it's what you bring to the characters, not necessarily, what you're told to do. Go stand over here and pick this thing up and put this down. Misha brought something that they weren't expecting.
Yeah, and I think yes, because in the next scene it's Sam and Ruby driving, so he was talking both about Misha and Genevieve, how they were both wonderful additions for the show, and that he wasn't sure if the angels were even going to work. It could have just been like a steaming pile of poo, but Misha, I think, alone
as a character
brought it up to a level that made it work, because he's so mysterious and Misha
and vulnerable at the same time.
Yes, and then he was just like, but man, you guys, you fans are just brutal to Jen, because she's got such a thankless role.
Everybody hated her. Why did everybody hate her?
But he was honestly, just like, I loved her. She did such a good job. I'm so proud of the work that she did. She brought so many different sides to Ruby, and
I liked her as Ruby.
Yeah, I did too. I think she was a different Ruby than the first one. But after a while, it's like, okay, this is just who Ruby is now.
But so speaking of Ruby, Sam and Ruby are driving with Nurse Cindy screaming in the trunk. She good for Cindy, man. She never let up once.
Yeah,
she was going to get out of there. She doesn't get out of there, but and Sam is still, not on board, but he does listen to the message.
Not yet. He's looking at that he has a voicemail.
Oh, he sees the message. But he doesn't listen.
Yes, and Ruby's like, just listen to it.
Right. I like that she brings up Squeeter. She's like, now is not the time to grow up a Squeeter. And I was like, haha, wait. That's actually an insult to women. But he does, he is still thinking that maybe Dean is right. And he says it out loud to Ruby. I think he was right. everything.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the green room, Dean is now taken to, instead of smashing statues, is using statues to smash the walls.
Yep.
And as soon as he takes a breath to swing again, the walls have healed up and his efforts are for naught.
Womp womp.
And poof, Zachariah poofs back in. And admits to Dean, basically, I mean, there's a whole lot of monologuing here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole lot of monologuing in this whole in this whole episode. But admits to Dean that he won't be the one to stop Lilith. Because Dean's like, let me at her. Give me the knife. How am I supposed to do this? And he's like, nope. You won't actually kill her, and she will actually break the final seal. And it turns out that the angels never actually wanted Sam or Dean to stop Lilith from breaking the seals.
Yeah, they want the apocalypse to happen.
Yeah.
They want it to happen. Yeah. They want to make paradise on Earth. Yep. They're like, wouldn't it be fascinating?
All the humans would be dead, but it would be paradise on Earth. So good for us.
And they say Sam has an important part to play in this charade, probably with the push from them. And Dean is still not chosen to kill Lilith, but to stop Lucifer once he rises, because that's what they wanted all along.
Right. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. I do love that during this, though, Zachariah sat down on one of the Baroque benches, and he's sitting in between two mirrors.
Yeah.
Well, he's got a mirror on the left of him and a mirror on the right of him. So it gives it that infinity effect of just 1,000 Zachariahs.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's really cool, but it took me out of the scene because I'm like, where's the camera? You know?
Kripke talked about this. The camera is one of those mirrors, the one that's on the side of us.
Side?
Is a one-way mirror. So the camera could shoot through him, and then the other one was like a regular mirror, and it could do that. A very, very simple solution to
that was my one question. But again, it took me out of the moment because I was like, "Oh, where's the camera?" Instead of, oh, look at the, the
look
metaphor
at all of the Zacharias that he has to fight against.
Exactly.
I also like that Kripke was like, "Thank God that Kurt Fuller was the actor that had to deliver this long exposition because it needed to be done. We needed to get this reveal. It was a huge reveal, because they knew." The writing team knew that the angels wanted the apocalypse from the beginning of the year. Like they knew that this turnaround was going to happen. Like they knew what the end game was for the angels. Cass didn't know at first, but the others did. They were like kind of stringing him along also for a while.
Right.
And he said, I was very excited to selfishly put this reveal in my own episode.
I get to do it.
Yes.
But Kurt was great because he basically says, this is all foregone conclusion when our side wins, and we will win. There'll be paradise on Earth. So yay us. Let's go do this thing. Now Dean is looking around the room while Zachariah is describing all this. All the paintings have changed. The lighting in the room has changed. The lighting is now darker, grayer, colder. All the paintings are no longer these pastoral scenes. They're now all these biblical angels versus demon paintings. And all these paintings are real. They're all classical paintings, and I will describe them later so as not to bore you all into tears now. But when Zachariah says, Sam, you will, Zachariah says Sam will play a part in the apocalypse, just not, the one that he thought he was going to be playing. And Dean, you're not going to have a part in the apocalypse. You're going to be stopping Lucifer, and you will be rewarded, for your efforts. And Dean says, where's God in all of this? And Zachariah,
he says, God has left the building.
God's left the building. And while this is saying, you can see Dean start to look again at the paintings on the wall, and it's these horrifying scenes of basically mortals being attacked by demons, And it's all these different depictions of the chosen going up to heaven and the damned being dragged down to hell, and it's all these different depictions of hell
I
scenes.
didn't realize that the paintings had changed. I just thought that this room was so big that he just kept seeing different paintings, like and like he kept walking around.
Yeah, no,
I'll have
because
to look
they
at
go
that
back
again.
Yeah, they go back to the beer and cheeseburger table, and those 3 paintings that are behind them changed. Because Zechariah points to the picture of Saint Michael killing the dragon, and the dragon in these times, in the Renaissance time, is how they depicted demons, was as dragons. So Saint Michael slaying Lucifer, essentially, which, not this same painting, but the same not the same painter, but the same painting was shown when in the angels episode, when Sam thought he was seeing angels. And there was that same depiction of Saint Michael slaying the dragon. So, and this will not be the last time that we see this painting, just FYI. So anyway, I just thought that was
this exact painting, or that subject.
The subject of Saint Michael slaying the dragon. Because it's been painted, hundreds of times.
Yes.
So anyway, I just thought it was so cool. I was like, ooh, the paintings are no longer these beautiful pastoral scenes of lovers and sheep. It's demons.
I'm gonna have to look at that again.
Yeah.
Because there were some, like when he first entered the room, they were like flashing towards all of the paintings, and there was one that it looked very like Hermione Bosch. I don't know if I'm saying his first name right, but I know the artist very well, because that was one of my favorites in art history class. I'm like, who is this guy? Like, who decided? Like, he just went completely unhinged direction compared to everybody else in his time.
His time frame, yeah.
And I'm not good with like dates or anything, but I just know it was like everyone was doing the same kind of, Jesus. I don't know if Caravaggio is in the same time. I don't think he was, but similar. Just very like Jesus, or maybe even just nude,
cherubs, ladies, angels,
things. And then here's this guy where like demons are coming out of someone's ass, and it's like, what the fuck?
Right?
What drugs were happening during then, and where can I get some?
God, that would scare me to death. I'd be like, no, thank you. I did look up all the paintings, so when we're done, I can describe the paintings and why they were on the walls in those times. So, but yeah, so cool juxtaposition that it literally changes while Zechariah is talking. The green room has changed.
Yeah.
And it's no longer happy. Keep him happy and satisfied. It's now, you are stuck here.
Yeah, like ha ha ha.
Yeah.
And what an interesting turn that Zechariah had. Yes, we've been led to believe that angels are dicks this whole time, especially with Uriel. He was just like a dick straight out,
Right.
Just an asshole. But Zechariah here was like twisty, turny, manipulative.
Exactly. Well, he even says that he was tricking his own people.
Yeah.
Can't tell the ground troops what we're doing, so they're just out there getting slaughtered, fighting demons, trying to keep Lilith from breaking the seals, but we can't tell them what's happening, what the true game plan is. So it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Dick. Yeah. So back at the convent, back at the convent.
Yeah, this is just a quick break because we stay in this angel green room for a long time because later Cass comes. So this is just a break to show that Lilith has now entered the convent and has taken over a security guard there. Who was like, you can't be here. And she's like, it's time for mass. Then you're going to join her.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, so we're back in the green room yet again.
Dean's trying to call Sam again. But like no bars.
Yeah. No bars.
But Cass appears and is like, yeah, you're outside of your calling zone, which very astute for Cass, who is not very good at the, human stuff.
And he tries to apologize, like, I'm very sorry for the way that things ended. And then Dean is like, sorry is not going to cut it. And then throws a punch in his face. But Cass is an angel and therefore made of stone or gold or
steel
something.
Yeah. It's like, clang. it was like Superman getting punched, you know, it was like clunk, you know, and I love that Dean has to turn away from Cass to like hide that he's gripping his hand in pain.
Yeah.
But then does turn back around and is like all back to business again.
Yep.
He's like, how can you let this happen? Like, family is real, people are real, and you're just gonna let them all burn? Like, this is what's real here. And Cass, on the flip side, says, all I see here is pain. That's all I've witnessed is pain. And in you, there's guilt, there's suffering, so why wouldn't you want to go to paradise? All you would feel is pleasure and peace, and even be at peace about Sam. ... Sam is not going to paradise.
Yeah. ...
Sam is destined for hell.
Yeah.
Doesn't say that out loud, but that's what that is. You know, what's worth saving? You know, Cass, like why save any of this? And
Dean's answer is, you can take your piece and shove it up your ass.
Yeah, I'd rather have pain. I'd rather acknowledge that there's pain because I have a choice in it. And you feel pain because you also feel pleasure, you know, so you know the difference between the two. He doesn't say that, but that's his logic. But I also like that he says, you have to help me. You were going to help me before. You were going to help me. You were about to say something before they took you back to Bible school.
Yeah, it was this. Like, you were about to warn me that, oh no, the angels actually want the apocalypse.
Yeah, that's what you were going to tell me, which answers my question from before, which is, what was written on the note? What was Cass going to tell him? It's a P.S. Don't kill Lilith.
Yeah.
So the please, Dean throws in a please to Cass. He's like, help me, please. And this always breaks me when the big, strong characters actually humble themselves, ask for help, and are also like so desperate that please come out. But Cass says, if I help you, I'll be hunted. You'll be hunted. We will all be killed if I do this. And Dean's like, this is worth dying for. You know, being killed is not a reason to not try to stop the apocalypse.
Yeah. Kripke brought back even, I guess maybe it was earlier in the season, or last season, where Dean is with Anna, and she's kind of on the side of Dean in this moment, saying like, oh, I like the pain, the confusion, I like the complexities of being human. And Dean is wanting to be an angel and say like,
so he can't
why?
feel...
Yeah, like, I don't want to feel any of this. And completely here I've turned around and said, no, I'd rather have the messy sloppiness, the confusion, the selfishness of being human, because perfect is, Eric Kripke's words, which I loved, perfect is cold and hateful.
Wow. And he's not wrong, because that's also what Anna was running from. She was referred to as cold. Like, she kept referring to her existence as an angel as cold.
But yes, no matter Dean's like begging and pleading, Cass doesn't answer him at all.
Yeah. Shakes his head, and Dean walks away and says,
dismisses
"We're done."
him.
Yep, we're done. Same thing he said to Sam. We're done. The next thing we see is Ruby pushing Sam to hurry up and bleed the nurse. Like, let's get on with it. Drinker, we need to move on. But now Sam actually does listen to the message that Dean left him, except it's not the message that we heard Dean leave. It's somebody somehow has
the angels. It was the angels have changed the message.
Are you sure it's the angels?
Kripke confirmed it was the angels. And I also am taking Zachariah's little thing he says earlier, like, you know, Sam will play his part, maybe a little bit of a push from us. You know, we'll have to get him there, but...
Okay, because the only reason I question is because everything I read online, so that Kripke never acknowledged like refused to acknowledge one way or the other whether it was Ruby or the angels who changed the message.
No, he literally said like, but the angels have messed with the voicemail, so it's not the same voicemail.
All right, so times have changed since they released the episode and have released the DVDs. Okay. That's hysterical. All right, so scratch that question off. Yeah, so this message is hateful that the angels change it to, which is I hate you, you're a vampire, there's no coming back from this, you were never my brother, blah 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 blah. We're done. We're done. And what I hate, though, this is another reason why I was like, oh, maybe Ruby did it, is because the camera does look at her for a second and she gives this like little, like, smirky smile. Yeah, exactly. So I was like, maybe Ruby did it, but no. All right, Kripke says it was Kurt Fuller. It was Kurt Fuller. So having heard this terrible, awful message from Dean, Sam has made up his mind. Let's cut the bitch.
Let's do it.
Yep, exactly. And Ruby's like, whoop. Yeah.
Back in the green room, Dina's finally given in. He's hungry. He's gonna scarf down one of these burgers.
Yes, screw it. He's literally about to take a bite of, the apple, so to speak. Cass appears, knocks the burger out of his hand, and slams Dean up against a wall, and like whips out the demon blade. Puts his hand over Dean's mouth. And I don't know how they telegraph this to each other, but like their eyeballs looking at each other, Dean gives him like a slight nod, with his eyeballs. So instead of stabbing Dean, Cass takes the knife and slices his own arm and hands the blade back to Dean, and uses his blood and starts to draw a sigil on the wall in blood, a la what Anna did back in the barn. And while he's making the sigil, Zachariah appears. And this got me. Zachariah is like, what are you doing? Castiel. And when
Stop that right now.
Yes. What do you think you're doing? And when Cass goes and slaps his hand on the sigil, which is the final mark of, angel banishing,
casting it out
thing, the look on Kurt's face was like, what is that going to do? And I was like, he seems surprised. He seems surprised by what just happened. And of course he is, bright light, and he is, banished away. So now it's just Cass and Dean left in the green room.
I wonder why Cass was still there. Like maybe it was a certain type of sigil. Maybe.
I mean, it could be that was his own blood, and
because I guess Anna did it. I guess Anna did it that one time, and she was still there, but she wasn't an angel
when she did it.
Her grace was not in her.
Yeah, I just think it's because it was his blood and he made it, that he wouldn't be banished by it.
Okay, so Zachariah's gone, but not going to be for long. So how do they get to Sam as fast as possible? Because if he kills Lilith, that is the final seal, which that is like another big reveal, which Zachariah did not say before. He just said that Lilith is going to bring about the apocalypse, but doesn't say how necessarily.
Right. But it's Cass who says she is.
Yes, her death is the final seal, and Sam is going to bring it. So now we gotta go. Like, how do we find out where he is? Well, I know someone who can. And cute Chuck.
Enter Chuck.
Who's ordering 20 girls.
20 call girls
for pleasure. Like there's no tomorrow.
Yes, exactly. So obviously Chuck knows how this is supposed to end, because he's acting like this is it. What we saw when we first got to Chuck's house was the camera was looking at Chuck's computer screen, which looks like it was the final cover page of this episode, because it said Supernatural, Lucifer Rising. Carver Edlund. So I think Chuck thinks the book's been written. Yeah. His prophecy is done. The episode is written. Yeah. Except when Cass and Dean pop into his house, he's like, this isn't supposed to happen. Yeah. You guys aren't supposed to be here. You're not even in the story. But so Dean reads the story and finds out where Lilith and Sam are,
Yeah.
And just as they figure out where she is and what they have to do, the big bright light starts up again, and it's the Archangel.
Yes. And even Chuck is like, not again.
Not
no. And
part of me was like, there's no threat here, though. There's no threat to the Prophet, right?
I wonder if it was just because it was such a deviation from what his prophecy was, or even it was just, oh no, these guys are going to screw up our apocalypse plan.
Right.
Not necessarily danger to the Prophet, but danger to the prophecy.
To the plan. And damn it, there's Cass again in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Cass is like, I'll stay here. I'll fight off the Archangel. And then he says angels. So more than one Archangel. He taps Dean on the forehead and like teleports him to the convent.
Yeah.
Leaving him and Chuck to face the Archangel.
Very funny scene where Chuck like stands shoulder to shoulder or like hand to shoulder with him.
Like, I got your back, buddy. You know?
And then Cass just gives him this look, and then the hand slowly comes off of the shoulder. Okay, never mind.
Chuck.
So this scene was one of the ones that Kripke credited to Ben Udland, because I think Kripke would have had like Dean battling a ton of angels, like a giant fight scene that was going to be way too expensive. And Ben Udland was like, well, why don't they, like, Rob was just so good as Chuck. Why don't we just bring him back? And then they just go to him. Like, he would know the answer. And then that way we have a little bit of humor, too, because Rob as Chuck is just so neurotic and funny. And,
yeah. Well, it worked because it because I had that question. Like, the first time I watched the episode, and it kind of goes by super fast. I was like, wait, what? I just lost part of it, but then going back and watching it, I was like, duh, go to Chuck, the Prophet, who's writing about it, which was very smart on Cass's part. And then, send Dean off using his angel powers to...
Yep. So now these next two scenes I had dubbed the Lilith scene and then the Ruby scene.
Okay.
So Lilith is there with her minions. One of them hands her a chalice of blood for whatever ritual she's about to do. And she says, we're going to save the world. And as she turns around and then turns back, then all of the minions are dead. Because
all of her demons are dead. And then around the corner comes Sam and Lilith, which I thought was pretty amazing.
Yeah. And she tries to shut the door in his face, but of course he's like all super juiced up with this, the baby eating demon blood.
Nurse Cindy.
Yes.
Oh, yes. And cue the ominous music, right? Oh, I missed a good point.
Oh, go back. It's okay.
Okay. So just when I referenced Raiders of the Lost Ark, you kind of gave me a question mark over your face.
Yes, I did.
And it's because in the previous scene with Cass, Chuck, and Dean, and when Chuck says, "Hey, you guys aren't, what are you going to do? You're not even written in the story." Cass says, and I quote, "I don't know. We're just making this up as we go," which is a direct quote.
Oh, yes, it is. I don't know. I'm just making this up as I go.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And again, you see Dean give Cass like a little, he doesn't give him a thumbs up, but he kind of gives him a look of, good quote.
Yeah.
So sorry, that was, I had to go back and get that in there. So Dean is now at the convent, and he heads off to find Sam and Ruby.
Yeah, he follows them down the hallway. Ruby spots him before Sam does, as Sam has like knocked Lilith out and has her like pinned up, psychically against her altar in that angel-like kind of way. Angel pose.
The hands up pose.
But Ruby spots Dean, gives her smirk, her knowing smirk, got here before you did, and just slams the door shut in Dean's face.
And the scene where Sam like mind blasts Lilith like up against the altar, he hit her so hard with this mind blast that she actually flips in the air and then slams her head against the altar. And I hate to say it, but I used this in one of my shorts. And in the editing process of the short, you know how you have to like run things back, run things forward, run things back, run things forward for the editing. Yeah. All I heard was slam, slam.
Oh no!
And so it became comedy. The sound that she made every time she like hit the altar, you know. And I was like, oh, this is bad. This is really bad. Yeah. So it didn't mean anything. So I went back and watched the whole scene just one more time to get it out of my head, and I was like, nope, it's still there. It was just, it was. So Sam is holding Lilith up against the altar with his mind, and we start to hear a heartbeat.
Yeah.
You know, a little telltale heart. Boom, 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 boom.
And he starts to go for it. He starts to do the thing that he's been training this entire year for. He's just like, I've been waiting for this for a long time. Give it me your best shot.
He's like, okay.
Yeah. So now there's this like slow motion kind of thing. She starts to do a little bit of what Alistair had done, which is like glowing from the inside and seeing the ribcage.
Like this electrical jolt.
Yes,
and then
very
suddenly, her body's glowing.
Yeah, but then Sam is stopped because he hears Dean on the other side of the wall screaming, "Don't, Sam, stop!"
Yep.
But then you hear Ruby like also screaming, all in slow motion. She's just like, "Dude, what are you waiting for?"
Yes.
So he's like
heartbeat
stuck in between the two of them, like, "Oh no, my brother! Oh no, this woman who's Ruby, been mentoring me! Oh no!" And then
my sister, my mother, my sister, my mother.
And then it's Lilith.
And then it's Lilith, right?
It's Lilith who starts laughing at him and is like, "Oh my God, you idiot! You turned yourself into a freak, and you're not even gonna do it."
Yeah. Wow. And that's what turns him.
Yeah.
He's like, all right. You know, her laughing at him and ridiculing him. His eyes go black.
Yeah.
He takes a breath and he does that final squeeze and he just like rips her on the inside and then lets her go for like a breath and then does it again.
Yes.
And this time she actually dies. Like she just does the whole inside explosion. Light comes pouring out of her mouth and out of her eyes. And then she collapses and she's dead. Sam's eyes go back to normal. Now there's blood that's pooling out of Lilith. And it's like, not just like, it's not pooling from her body. It's like,
no, it's like doing like a directional,
like a circle or a swirl of some kind. Yeah.
And Sam is very confused. Ruby is not confused.
And stand by for Ruby's monologue.
Oh, yes. She's like, "Oh my God, you actually did it. I actually did it." Like, she's like, I did this.
I did this. Nobody knew. Yep.
Just Lilith, not Alistair, not anybody. I'm awesome. Like, I kept it from everybody.
Other demons, they couldn't do it. They didn't suspect me. I was the one who made this all happen. Oh my God. And
he's like, "What are you talking about?" And she says, "And it is written that the first demon shall be the last seal." Which I just love those "and it is written" little bits that they throw in. It's just
because it's all been prognosticated.
Yes.
So Sam is like, "You bitch," and goes to like grippy her, like mind blast her, and all he does is like send her this beautiful wind that makes her hair blow and nothing. And she's like, "Sorry, honey, you blew your wad," you know, and killing Lilith, you've got nothing. And he does. He's got nothing. He collapsed. Yeah. He was just that was it. But he's like, "You poisoned me. You did this. You did this to me." You know. And again, she says, "Nope. That was all you. I just pointed you in the right direction. It wasn't the blood.
Yeah.
You did that. Every decision you made brought you here."
Yeah. It was very akin to that one episode we watched where like the little town in Ohio turned into mini Vegas, essentially.
Yes.
You remember where like the demons even then were just like, "We just put the alcohol there and the strippers there. The humans did the rest."
Yep, exactly. Which is where the Dumbo reference come from, which is
you had it in you all along. You didn't need the feather.
Yes. And I was like, oh, that was actually really clever.
It was.
And like sickeningly sweet.
Yeah.
Because
and this
that's how she saw him. She was like,
Yeah,
"My
and this
little
was
Domo."
purposeful. It was like, no, the direction to Genevieve was, you need to play this not evil. Like, you are the hero of your own story, and you're comforting Sam and that he did the right thing, and his reward will be just, and they saved the world, and
No, and you're going to get rewarded. Again, she's like,
yeah,
you did it. Lucifer is coming, and he's going to be so happy you
proud
did
of
this
you.
for him.
Yeah.
He is going to reward you. And she
Yes.
wasn't being mean about that. She was just like, you did it. You know, you didn't
did
think you
it.
could, and you did.
Yeah.
And now you're going to meet the guy. You're going to get to meet this guy, you know?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, it was always going to be you. She says it was always going to be you. It had to be you. Like,
Sammy.
you're, yeah.
She called him Sammy, which
they knew, everybody, the writers, Kripke, knew that Ruby was playing a double agent from the very beginning. That was always the end game for her. They knew she was going to die. Like, they knew that this was going to be her death, that she's not coming back, period, end of story. But yeah, from the minute the first Ruby came into play,
they knew.
Yeah. This was
interesting. Because it never played that way until this season. It wasn't until the season where you started to see the cracks, you know, the hints, you know, the obvious hints.
Right.
That she
which is, did they tell the actors that? I don't know. You know?
I'm going to say probably not.
Yeah, because that might...
Because they can always change their minds, you know, writers do. And so probably, I'm going to say probably not.
Yeah.
I did think it was interesting, though, that the flip of Lilith from that one episode where she was saying, I don't want to die, when she was trying to seduce Sam. She's like, I know how this all ends. I know this. I don't want to die.
Yeah.
She didn't say that you kill me. But she said, I die at the end of this and I don't want to. So in this episode, she was like, you know, bring it on, big boy. I was like, oh, I guess she's accepted her fate. You know?
Yeah, maybe she had a moment of doubt, you know, saying like, you know what, maybe I don't want to be a part of this cult anymore.
Yeah.
But then you roped it back into it somehow and said, okay, never mind.
Sounds a terrible way to go, but all right.
But she brought her leader into, her savior into the world. So
the ultimate sacrifice there. So just as Ruby says, Lucifer will repay you, Dean busts the door down with a giant candle, a giant brass candlestick, whips out the demon blade and like lunges for Ruby, who in turn says, you know, too late.
Yeah.
And Dean says, I don't care.
Don't care.
Don't care. And just then Sam pulls himself up from the ground, grabs Ruby from behind, and Dean leans in and full on just stabs her in the stomach. Doesn't just stab her in the stomach, twists. He twists that knife. And she does the amazing demon explosion. Yeah. You know, a little drawn out because they had to make her suffer because they could have just thrown her to the ground, but Sam held her up so that Dean
that was a nice touch that Sam made the choice. It's like, nope, I'm going to hold you here while he does this.
While he does this. Exactly.
I need to be a part of killing you.
Yes. She does finally die. And Sam drops her. But oh God, Dean, that whole time just looked her right in the eyes the entire time that he had the knife in her. He was just looking her in the eyes. And I felt like that moment was very much you know, I want my father back, you son of a bitch. Yes. You know, you kill my father, prepare to die.
Yes.
You know, you're too late, don't care.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And of course, I also couldn't stop thinking about all the interviews where like Jensen and Jared had to tell their kids, you know, that Uncle Jared had to kill, you know, mom. Kind of funny. But yeah, so she did the whole burnout explosion thing and it was awesome, but she is dead. And the only thing Sam can say at that point is, I'm sorry. He says that to Dean. Yeah. Sam says, I'm sorry. Yeah.
And Dean just tries to be like, what is, you know, it's fine. Let's just get out of here.
Let's just go.
But Sam is like, no.
No, because just then the floor like starts to do this weird like whirlpool on the floor kind of pattern. Like the blood is definitely doing something. And this white light kind of,
if you will.
Yeah. And this white light kind of takes over the entire room, and thus our entire screen is whited out, and then boom, producer's credit.
Yeah.
So instead of blackout, which I always usually say, it's like, and blackout. This time
Yeah.
it went to a whiteout.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's new.
Basking in the glow of Lucifer's entrance.
I guess.
So yeah, that's the end of the season. Like, what
that's
the
it.
hell?
No blackout.
Just
boop, white out.
They are so good at the cliffhangers with these things sometimes.
Yes. So that's it for season 4.
Yeah.
Lucifer is coming. So the title didn't lie.
Yeah.
No, But so the only thing I'll say, and I'll say it real quick about the paintings in the room, they were specifically picked by the writers and by Scenic to mean something. It wasn't just like pastoral pictures. There were for the in the green room at first, in the bright room, the first 4 paintings, one was called the landscape with Apollo and Mercury. Another one was called landscape with Nymph and Egeria mourning over Numa. I'll explain them. One was called the swing, and one was called blind man's bluff. Landscape with Apollo and Mercury was literally a picture of Apollo, who was watching over some cattle, but he's playing a musical instrument to like help lull them. But he's so enamored of his own playing that he doesn't see Mercury sneaking in and literally stealing his cattle.
Yeah.
So that to me was like, you know, Alistair with the burgers and Dean not seeing, you know, what was actually happening in front of him.
Alistair with the burgers?
Not Alistair, Zachariah. Sorry.
Oh.
sorry. I meant Zachariah trying to like, you know, lull him into this sense of, you know, contentment. The landscape with the nymph and Egeria mourning over Numa is literally the nymph Egeria, who's crying over the death of the second king named Numa. But she's being comforted.
Okay.
Yeah, in mourning, as in not morning, night, but
the morning, but in morning.
But she's being comforted by the goddess Diana, and this is this weird juxtaposition of mortals and immortals on the same plane. Egeria herself is known to be a metaphor for wisdom and the prophecy. And so this picture was supposed to literally encapsulate like the prophecy, the Winchester prophecies, the book of the Winchesters. So, I mean, it's a little bit of a dig, but that's why they did that. The swing is a picture of a bishop pushing a young lady on a swing. While he's pushing her, her lover is hiding in the bushes in front of her. And he's like looking up her skirts as she swings by. So this was another one of those Zachariah with the food and sex for Dean, which is basically, you know, there's this biblical wonderfulness over here, but here on earth, you've got your carnal pleasures and, you know, which I thought was kind of weird. But Blind Man's Bluff. Now, this one I thought was really cool. Blind Man's Bluff is a girl who's wearing a blindfold, and she's literally got her hands out, and she's about to step off a step. But her boyfriend apparently behind her is like tickling her ear, like, you know, flirty, tickle, not warning her about the step that she's about to fall off of. But if you look closely at the painting, you can see that she can actually kind of see under the blindfold. So the idea is that she knows she's in danger, and yet she willingly participates. Thus, being Dean, he sees what when he tells Cass, they're lying to you. Dean is basically the girl who actually is blindfolded, but can still see. Okay, the revelation part where Zachariah starts talking and the paintings change to angels and demons. One of the first paintings that's behind Zachariah is called "The Damned Cast into Hell." The titles of these paintings are like spot on.
Yes. They usually were back in the day.
Yeah. And it's a painting of demons seizing the damned and like violently wrenching their bodies into these contortioned positions,
Mhm.
painful. Which if you look close at it, you're like, oh yeah, that is. And it was
Yeah.
interesting to see that at the that at that time contortion, like painful contorted body, was even a notion. But
Yeah.
so another painting was which is the Archangel of Saint Michael killing the dragon. But we come across seeing that when Zachariah is telling Dean that he's going to kill
Yeah.
Lucifer.
Mhm.
Now, when Dean and Cass are talking, they're having their face to face. There's a couple of paintings in the background, and over behind Cass, there's a picture called The Last Testament. And that's where you have on one side of the painting, you've got the damned that are being dragged to hell, and then on the other side, you've got the chosen who are being led up to heaven. And that you can see that when Cass is saying that Dean will get to go to paradise where Sam is not.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then, of course, behind Dean is the painting of Saint Michael killing
Mhm. Mhm.
the dragon. Somebody said something about that this is a deep, 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 like, I can't believe that this is intentional, but the crest of the town of Castiel, Switzerland, is Saint Michael killing the dragon. And somebody was like, so thus Castiel always has Dean's back, because that was in the, because that was the picture behind Dean. I was like, no, too far. I went too deep. I went too deep.
I went too deep.
So yeah. So anyway, shout out to the writers and the set designers and scenic who actually researched paintings and chose very specific ones that mirrored exactly the intention of the emotions.
Yeah.
And the journeys, like that, they're all like Dean's journey.
Mhm.
And I did just think it was really, again, clever that the mood of the room changed, and it wasn't like
Definitely.
click. It was just one of those.
Yeah, but it was subtle enough that I'm sure most people didn't even notice it.
Yeah, but it was just enough that even if you didn't notice it, it still affected your mood, and it affected the character's mood.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's all I got.
Great.
That's all I got. So now I will admit that when I wasn't binging Ted Lasso, while I was sick, I did march forward and watched a few more. I jumped into season 5, and I did what I don't normally do, which is I watched like 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, that's what happened to me the last time. I was like, no, I'm going to keep going. I know I got at least to the first one episode. Maybe I got through the second episode of season 5, but I can't remember. Because they did a good job of kind of just like blending into one another, that it just felt like one big long movie almost.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely.
But yes, excellent season finale.
End of season 4. We did it.
We finally
freaking did it. We hit 15,000 downloads as well.
I know, I saw that.
So that was just on, that doesn't include like YouTube and stuff like that. So that's pretty awesome.
I know, go us.
I'd like to thank all of our fans, all of our listeners for sticking with us. Yeah. Oh man. Oh my God. This was a slog. Season 4 was not bad, but we were bad getting through it.
We were. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we did it though. God, it was good. It was a good season. And finally, I mean, like when Sam says, I've been waiting a long time for this, I'm like, we've all been waiting a long time for this. Like, I needed this arc. I needed this to please. I need a little resolution here. I need some answers. So.
Okay, so the next episode will be us just doing our little season 4 wrap up, roundup of things.
Tallies and totals of things.
Yes. And then we will get started on season 5.
Yes.
All right. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for the season finale of season 4. We'll see you next time for just our little wrap up. of season 4, the whole season wrap-ups we like to do. And we are, just a heads up, going to take a brief pausa between the season 4 and the season 5, so we can kind of revamp and reconfigure what we're doing and just be better for you.
I'm going to take a brief pause to get better at this.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So there's plenty of the library for you to re-listen to.
Absolutely.
Yes, because I'm running out of re-releases too.
So just go listen to it on your own again by yourself. That's okay. You don't need us to repost it for you.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, you can also check out all of our shorts, our reels, and our fun, X posts. X, Twitter.
X, formerly known
Threads.
as Twitter. That's all I ever see in the news is like X, the site formerly known as Twitter.
Prince man rolling in his grave.
All right. Yes, we are at Salt and Burn This on all social platforms. You can listen to us on YouTube. We are also at Salt and Burn This. Please download us, follow us anywhere you listen to podcasts, and leave a good rating for us anywhere that allows that. Spotify and Apple particularly do. That would be wonderful.
You can give us a thumbs up on YouTube as well.
Oh, yes. Like, follow, subscribe, all of that on the YouTube.
Sorry. I'm at that part of the cold where if I laugh, I start coughing, So sorry. Okay, no, I'm good.
Okay. I think we're getting into the sleepy drunk stages here. So we will sign off. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.